Good evening, good evening. I'm very happy to be here and glad to see so many people here. My head is spinning a little bit about all these ideas that I've been hearing so far, so I'm going to go through my presentation really quickly, then I'm going to attack some of the other presenters and discuss some work that we can do. I think someone said, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but if you listen to me, I think there's a couple of things that we're going to do. But first of all, I'm going to do a quick update on FDC3, and we're going to walk through a client use case. My name is Johan Sandersson. I'm a technical product manager at OpenFin, and I also wear another hat as an FDC3 maintainer, and I think I'm actually one of the longest standing maintainers. I've been there since the beginning, and I'm happy to speak about it like one of my children almost. I'm going to be joined later by Graham from Dow Jones to talk about their product offering. Just a quick raise of hands. Who has worked or done anything or know anything about FDC3? That's good enough. I'm calling this a maturing standard. It's not yet matured, but it has come a very, very long way since its foundation. And just quickly going back on the background of FDC3, it started with a group of people led by OpenFin and some buy-side and sell-side firms actually coming up with the idea that there has to be an easier and standardized way for application to communicate on the desktop. So it was very much driven not by a sort of a need to build a product, but the need for the community's applications and solutions and workflows to work better together. We built the first version of the API, couple of context and intents, and then we contributed that to Finos for stewardship going forward within the Finos and Linux Foundation. There was quite quickly a bunch of early adopters who used these small set of context and intents. They created some proprietary context and intents. There was a lot of presentations and demos, and we heard anecdotally about all these internal use cases of FDC3 workflows. But it didn't really sort of have wide reach amongst the community. But now, 5 years later, or even 6 years later, we see organic growth. We hear about people using FDC3 in their application. They're advertising it. People that I've never spoken to are advertising it on their websites that their applications are FDC3 compatible. They're working with FDC3. I'm invited to a lot of sales meetings, and almost all our clients are asking us about, can we use FDC3? What can you do? How can it work? How can we make it work for our application? So there's incoming interest in FDC3. On the sort of community side, there are now a large amount of working groups working to improve FDC3 in sort of separate areas, and I'm going to show a little bit about that later. And Finos and the FDC3 working group are also having certification programs and training programs for developers who actually wants to put the fact that they are certified FDC3 developers on their CVs or LinkedIn profiles. And maybe hearing about all this AI talk and AI being the word of the year, maybe nothing is more sort of proof of the maturity of FDC3 than you can actually use ChatGPT today, say things like, I own, what do I own? 500 shares of Tesla. Please create an FDC3 portfolio, and it will do that for me. I can then say things like, add 1,000 shares of Tesla, I think my example was, and it will add it into the structure, and I can update it that if I'm selling 500 of those. And it generates a real working FDC3 portfolio structure, including the positions and the instruments, and you can just take that and put that into your application and then send it into this lovely portfolio application that I'm sure Jason from Infragistics can help me make much, much more nicer in the next 5 minutes. But that's how it works. That's how mature I think the standard has become, and that's what FDC3 is sort of come to so far. We're not done, and FDC3 is very much full of ideas, and I just wanted to recap that the 2.0 standard that now is available as a conformance-tested solution included or added a couple of new things like intent handling to support feeds and transactions, the capability for apps to self-regulate using private channels, app metadata to further know which applications you're working with, but also a couple of new context and intents to sort of really show what type of workflows you can support straight out of the box. 2.1 came out in August this year. It sort of improved a little bit on the 2.0 standard, some further context and intents, and also some improvements to the API. But it also added an experimental standard for desktop agent bridging, which I'm happy to speak about later, but it's quite a long topic, so I'm not going to speak too much about it here. Right now, we're having separate working groups for context and intents to really keep driving the workflows that you can achieve as standard using FDC3. The desktop agent bridging is still work in progress and very much something where we need input from the community, whether this is something that is actually going to be used, because it is a very, very complicated solution to make it work out of the box. FDC3 in normal websites is something that is highly interesting for lots of people. And of course, the security and the identity. Just because it's easy to share information doesn't necessarily mean that you can or should do it. Some data is proprietary, some data is sensitive, some data is secure, and we must provide the right guardrails around that. What is OpenFin doing in this space, apart from I develop or I use quite a lot of my time to talk about FDC3, attend all the FDC3 meetings. We have engineers working on FDC3, taking part of the working groups, and many of our solutions engineers are speaking about how clients can use FDC3. But what we really do, and I think Jason showed it really nicely with the Infragistics demo, is that we help our clients utilize FDC3 by providing samples and context, and also easy ways to use technology to slide into FDC3, if we say so. Our interop broker allows you to be FDC3 1.2 compatible, 2.0 compatible, but also open up for the future standardization of FDC3 and including proprietary ways of interoping, so that you can start using FDC3 applications and interop with your old applications that are not yet converted to FDC3. You can use all of that in OpenFin, and you can sort of move as the pace that you see fit. And that also protects you for the future. If new application comes on board and they are supporting the 2.0 or maybe a 3.0 standard, you can keep your applications working at the 2.0 level and interoperate and add the 3.0 applications as well. So we offer you the flexibility to sort of move forward at your pace and not forcing everyone else in your sort of ecosystem to move at the same time. And speaking about ecosystems, we are adding more and more applications that are easy to integrate into OpenFin and using FDC standard for their interop needs. So I'm going to welcome Graham onto the stage and talk a little bit about what Dow Jones, maybe one of the most mature names in the financial industry, is doing with FDC3.
Thank you very much, Johan. Thank you very much to OpenFin for inviting myself and Dow Jones to come to the event. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about what Dow Jones actually does and who they are. So Dow Jones, it's first of all a financial news agency. It's highly focused on news. We don't do very much in the way of celebrity gossip. We don't do an awful lot in the way of sports news either. We're very, very focused on finance, and that's what we do. We have multi-asset coverage. We do fixed income, we do corporate bonds, we do multi-asset in terms of commodities, we do energy, we do cryptocurrencies. And guess what? We also do equities, which is perhaps what we're most famous for. We've got a very strong history. We go back about 130 years. We're not a dog, but we've got that pedigree. We're also not tied to a particular market data vendor desktop. We don't have one. So we can sell to anybody. We partner with lots and lots of people, and they pay us lots and lots of money, and we want that to continue happening. And our latest partner is, of course, OpenFin. And we're very, very grateful to have this new opportunity to work with OpenFin. We don't have a desktop, and what OpenFin gives us is the ability to work more closely with our end clients and produce user experiences that they demand. Because although we love our partners very much, we're so far removed from the end user that we have little or no control over that. Okay? So what is it that I do? Well, I work in content, and actually that's what most people really care about, and what they care about is, of course, delivering it. So the content I work with is across multi-asset. I work globally. I work very closely with our partners and our sales teams to understand what content we can provide to our end customers ultimately. So why FDC3? Well, in addition to what I've just been talking about, we realize that what we want to do is go out and service additional clients. So not just trading floors, not just asset managers, but places where we've not traditionally been able to sell to. So integrating our news with back office, clients' own applications is not something that we've typically been able to do. Yes, we sell feeds, yes, we sell APIs, but being able to have a very easily deployed solution and working very closely with the clients is something that we've really picked up on with FDC3. And why we did it in the first place is because it was actually a client of ours who said, well, we're moving all our systems across to FDC3, and in particular OpenFin. Can you build your application around that? So that's what's been the initial driver for us. Other things that we've realized we can do with the OpenFin platform is that we can, we can improve on the user experience. So one of the first modules that we've built and is active now is our global streaming news module. So I'm sure that most people in this room are very familiar with pure text displays that were built, decades ago. They only show text in pure format, okay? That's very, very fine for the trading floor, but for asset management, wealth management clients, they want something else. So what we've done here in the top left, we've taken a standard scrolling news window and we've added additional functionality to it. So we have rich text format news items. Not every item is rich text format, but we do have graphics, we've got photographs, and increasingly we're looking towards video. And what happens is a client who clicks on a pure text story within the scrolling news window will receive a pure text story if only that is available. But if we have the images associated with that, then they can choose to display images within their application or not. Other things that we do, we've got extensive metadata tagging. And the tagging is applied to our news both at the editorial level by humans and also automatically. And with this application now, with a richer text format, we can bring out things like hot news tagging that you can see up there in yellow. We've got exclusive news tagging there, and we bring that to the fore. And how do we know that that is exclusive news? Well, we know that because a reporter is on the line to somebody, and it was only that reporter there. So between hot news, exclusive news, you can also build trading patterns. We've also got significant news tagging as well, which can be applied as well. And we're building additional news modules to include that. What are we going to be doing next? We're building a portfolio module. And the portfolio module takes into account clients' holdings of individual securities within the portfolio. So rather than having a default news display that's by time-ordered news, clients can choose to have the news according to the AUM of the top security in the holdings. In addition, we've got dedicated modules for the Wall Street Journal and for Barron's, and obviously for the wealth management audience, Barron's is paramount. So what are we going to be doing as well in the future? We're looking at calendar modules. So we already have calendar data both for macroeconomic and for equities information. We're expanding that to be even more tied in with our news. There's no global standard, no standard for securitization of economic events, but because we're a news agency, we're able to map that economic data to our own news items. Of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention AI. So we're expanding what we already do in the AI front, and we're looking at things like machine translation for news. We're looking at summarization and a few other projects. So when's that coming up? We'll watch this space. So I'll hand over back to you.
Thank you so much, Graham. And of course, all these tools that Graham is talking about is available for you to watch down in the exhibition area. Just find the Dow Jones booth. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the next group. Thank you very much.